Welcome everyone to Beauty Talent Talk. I'm Debbie Johnson, your host. Our mission at Beauty Talent Talk is to share expert insights to empower personal and professional growth. So our topic today is product development's new playbook, science and talent. And we have our guest, Akshay Talati, Chief Innovation Officer at Supergoop and past President of Society of Cosmetic Chemists. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Debbie, and thank you for getting this all put together, Kirsty. Looking forward to a amazing discussion for the viewers, and please free to ask me any questions.
Wonderful. And Kirsty?
Yes, hello everybody, and I second what Akshay just said. We are very lucky to have him here today. So if you're watching us live, please feel free to pop questions in the comments and I will bring them up as we go through.
Wonderful. So let's start the stage of this conversation. As a recruiter, I work on product development roles and R&D roles. I've done this for many years, and it's evolved as every skill set has. And I want to go back 15 years. Akshay, can you share with us on what you've seen change and evolve from 15 years ago when it comes to innovating products?
Yeah, so to give a background, I've been creating products for various brands, multinational startups, acquisition brands over the last 30 years. Now, going back 15 years, I would say that the overall fundamentals of product development are not much different from there to today. We were still trying to solve consumer problems back then with great products, compelling experiences, and meaningful benefit. But what has changed from this last 15 years today is the environment we are in today. Back then, the innovation was driven by traditional trends, fragrances, packaging, storytelling, marketing, PD, R&D would identify an opportunity, create a brief, and there will be consumer insights. But the consumer's insights were done through traditional market research, focus groups, retailer feedback, consumer testing, and many a times through gut instinct. But today, now, if you fast forward to today, the consumers are more informed. They are more connected and they're more vocal than ever. There is influence of social media. The day you launch the product, the reviews go up. There are influencers, some influencers who do not have a science background, some influencers who are dermatologists. There are AI tools and then real-time feedback, which dramatically influences how product development is done today. And then one other big difference is that 15 years ago, the smaller brand especially did not have access to innovation like the way they do today. That type of innovation was only available to the multinationals. Today, even startup companies have access to all the top contract manufacturers, raw material suppliers, biotech companies, universities. So the quality of formulation and the innovation that a startup can have today is almost comparable to a multinational.
Which is fascinating. To have that small brand be able to compete with a multinational at that level.
Yeah. So and that's why the entire outlook of product development changes. I think, and if you go back 15 years ago, probably product development role was more focused around coordinating between the different teams, getting all the product concepts together. But today, if you look at the product development roles, it has become more focused, like a cross-functional group that a product developer does so much more, like, which we will go over as we discuss further. A product developer today does so much more than what was done probably 15 years ago.
And you touched upon this. Social media is certainly a catalyst behind changes in product development. What other areas do you feel have really been a driver to change the way brands are ideating?
Yeah, so definitely social media, the influencers, ingredient transparency. Everybody wants ingredient transparency. And the information which was once limited to scientists is now, and industry professionals, is almost available because of the day of the internet, right? People type in AI and all, you get the same publication which almost a scientist at a multinational would get access to. But the other biggest change that I've seen over the last 15 years is the sheer amount of choice a consumer has today. Going back 15 years, a consumer would have access to mostly brands that were available through brick and mortar stores, the department stores. But today, a consumer can have access to products from Amazon, TikTok Shop, Instagram, Facebook, even brick and mortar stores and e-commerce websites. So the consumer today can buy literally stand wherever they are in the world. They have access to products from all over the world. A consumer sitting in US can buy products from India, Korea. So you are almost competing with the entire world when you're launching a product. So that has a big shift on the bar of innovation. So the pressure of innovation when you're launching a product, it's not against only the top 10 brands which are based in your locality, but it's also exposed to the other brands that will be available to the consumer.
And I imagine just for looking at the breadth on a global basis, I mean, the regulations and what you can and can't put in products is different per country. That's also going to make the R&D, product development, obviously regulatory world complicated. I mean, it's been like that for.
Yeah, means obviously I create sunscreens, and obviously sunscreen is the biggest category where there's a lot of regulations. So it does become challenging to create products that are available everywhere with all regulations. But from what I've seen in the industry over the last 30 years, and that's the resilience of the raw material suppliers, that whenever a regulatory challenge is thrown to our raw material creators, they almost challenge themselves to create better. So there was preservative challenges, there were animal ingredients challenges, there were microplastics. So every time a challenge is thrown at them, they almost come back with a better innovation. So yes, regulatory restrictions are there, but that is, I think, over normal evolution of the beauty industry. The regulations will keep on coming, and that almost helps us get inspired to innovate more.
Yeah, help them evolve, which is great. So let's go into the topic at hand, which is the product development and R&D. So when you look at today's developer, what are some of the key skills that stand out to be competitive?
Yeah, so again, I started in R&D, and then I moved into product development. And today I do a dual role of R&D and product development. And I see that today's product developers almost need to be translators, connectors, and decision makers. So in the past, probably you saw that product development was more a role that connected marketing to R&D. Today, it's not the same. Today, if you look at a modern product developer, and especially the people I have in my team who I'm really proud of, at any given time, a product developer has to understand consumer insight, conduct competitor reviews, evaluate trends, identify white space opportunities, meet with raw material suppliers, analyze the technical data, look at the emerging technologies, participate in clinical testing plans, also work with R&D teams as well as external contract manufacturers, evaluate the textures, and at the same time, convince the cross-functional teams to move the product through the timelines. Because when you are in the stage gate process, you are always challenged. So you still are communicating with cross-functional teams to move the product. Plus, they are writing concepts, they are writing language, they participate in the name creation, and they are also presenting the product sometimes to the retailers. They go to Target, Sephora, they are in the kitchen, they are presenting at the industry conferences. So I feel that today the role is so much more comprehensive, and it's such an amazing opportunity for people who join as product developers, because they can get the entire view of the company on how the product cycles from basically the ideation to launch. And I think, so the skill has definitely evolved. And if I go back to my L'Oreal days, one of the things that I learned over there is a leadership philosophy that in order to be a good product developer, you need to be a poet and a peasant at the same time. So you need to have the creativity to imagine the products that do not exist, and also be able to sell that idea to your upper management, but at the same time, be inspired by the innovation and have the discipline to understand the formulation, be grounded, the realities of manufacturing, regulatory requirements, and clinical testing. So if you have both of them combination together, that's the perfect skill. You need to be the poet to sell the idea, create the idea, but to be a peasant, to be perfect in what you deliver with facts.
Fantastic. Thank you for sharing that. And for those product developers that lived under marketing, because I completely agree with you, the shift and also having a chemistry degree or having that technical background has definitely been what I've seen paramount in hiring for product development. But for those folks that still live in marketing, what would be your recommendation for them to spend time to invest to evolve their skill set so they can be competitive in what you just mentioned?
So again, I'm not implying that product developers need to have a scientific degree. You do not have to be a chemist or a scientist or a formulator. I think it's just the basic, you need to develop that basic understanding to distinguish the meaningful innovation from marketing hype, because they will be pitched so many ideas from trade shows that so-and-so ingredient does this, so-and-so, it's, so they have to be able to understand that. They also should develop the skill to translate a complex idea into a consumer language. How to identify the unmet needs, the purchasing drivers. So again, you have technologies like PDRN, microbiome, all those buzzwords are there. And they will say, oh, it stimulates aquaporin synthesis. It does reduce the CPD dimers, DNA damage, but you cannot tell that to the consumer. So when the product developer hears that, they need to have the understanding to translate that into a consumer language. It's almost like a critical thinking and translating it to with great storytelling and communication to the different cross-functional teams.
So I want to segue into claims and clinicals, which in today's market, that's table stakes. It used to be one that I felt like more science-backed brands were focused on that. And I see brands across the board, consumers are demanding it. What is your perspective and take on that?
Yeah, so again, so I come from a pharmaceutical background, and I started working in multinationals. So it was grounded into me that claims are the utmost important step. So claims and clinicals are no longer like a final step. They have to be part of every step of the development process, and especially in the start. Before you even write a concept or start the development process, you need to have the claim that you're going to work against, whether it's based on a competitor claim, whether it's a new claim, or whether you want to substantiate a lines and wrinkles or a pigmentation or moisture claims. And especially in the US, we see that claims are increasingly scrutinized through litigation, competitor monitoring, consumer advocacy. Influencers are the first to write something about your claims if it doesn't resonate with them or if it doesn't make sense. So I think as a product developer, this is an area where you need to develop or at least have some expertise in crafting claims and being able to work with the R&D teams as well as the legal teams to craft the claims and do the proper consumer testing to substantiate it. I think the big shift has been that I think probably 15, 20 years ago, it was like, oh, let's make that claim, and everybody gets excited about it to make that claim to differentiate their product in the market. But today, it's not about what claims that we can make, but how can we prove that claim? Sure. So from the start, you need to develop that thought that how am I going to prove that claim? Because you will be thrown with a lot of pitches from the R&D teams or from the raw material suppliers or from competitors that these claims look amazing, and you will be tempted to make that claim to match, but you need to be able to substantiate it.
Wonderful. Now AI,
and I was just going to say and plus on top of it, you also have the misinformation going around, right? So one false claim can bring a lot of damage to the company also. So thoughtfully, you have to decide what claim you want to make. You do not want to just follow the bandwagon. If some other brand's making it, you do not want to do that. You have to just ask what's right for my brand.
Yeah, I mean, from a brand reputation to lawsuits, which we won't go into those details, but they're happening, and it's one thing to have a claim and then to have that backfire, I mean, it can ruin the reputation of brand. So not worth it. So
yeah, and especially, right, you are in a competitive market right now. And if you look at it, right, so to make a Me Too product is very easy. You can make a Me Too product, you can give a concept give a competitive benchmark to somebody, they can duplicate it. And then usually what happens is you put a new one ingredient in it, and then you are tempted to say, oh, I have created a breakthrough product. And that triggers that exaggeration of the claims.
Sure.
And then it's a slippery slope from there to defend that claim. Yes, probably 90% of the time, maybe nobody scrutinizes that claim, but the 10% of the time you may get under the scrutiny of the claim, and it also probably hurts your reputation. The consumer may not come to buy your product again, or you can have a litigation against you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you said it best in the beginning of this discussion, is that ideation is solving a consumer problem, not duplicating it 10 times over. So now let's talk about AI. Hot topic across every discipline. But how do you see AI playing into R&D and innovation?
Yeah, so again, my point of, I was very hesitant on AI. Maybe if you would have asked this question 5 years ago. Mm-hmm. But today, I think AI is no longer a future discussion. It has become part of our development and innovation cycle, from trend forecasting to concept generation to formulation design, claims. AI is part of every single aspect of the product development process. Maybe like even Google searches that you do, they are AI inspired now. So, right, so you are part of that, whether you know it or not, you are part of the AI explosion that's happening right now. Mm-hmm. So today, I would say we as product developers should use AI to help analyze market trends, identify white space opportunities, summarize scientific literature. Sometimes, like you said, the traditional product developers who are more marketing skewed, and they get a 20-page document from a scientific publication, which they do not understand how to decode that scientific publication. Use AI, upload it into AI, and help summarize into a consumer-friendly language of one paragraph, right? So that's the tools you have to use, how to evaluate emerging technologies, accelerate research. I've also found that AI is particularly helpful when you have to brainstorm language of the product, the marketing language, the taglines, the product names, and also like just brainstorming ideas, right? Obviously, you want to do it in such a way because it does go out in the open world, what you put in AI. So you have to do it in such a way that either you have a private AI with your company, or you are doing it in such a way that your idea does not go out into the public world. AI is also very good at spotting patterns that may, like micro trends. We normally as product developers look at the macro trends, what's happening in Korea, what's happening in this new fragrance launch. So these are all macro trends. What's happening in Target, what's happening in Spade, Google searches and all this. So those are all macro trends, but we do not see the micro trends. So micro trends are trends that are happening in maybe the underprivileged population, maybe the population we do not cater to, maybe in countries who are now emerging, like there are trends developing in India, which are so slowly migrating. So AI is particularly savvy in detecting those micro trends. And at the end of the day, the main decision maker is you. AI will make mistakes. I think it's the merger of your expertise with the data that AI gives to come up with the right information.
100%. I think we're going to see professionals have a disadvantage with AI is when it starts making decisions for them. So you get the information and you use your expertise and data check it, of course, to make the best decision possible. But for folks that are just using it and duplicating it, I think it can be problematic. Akshay, is there any software specifically within product development, R&D, and AI that you've tested, or any recommendations for folks out there that they can play with?
Yeah. So again, like I was just going back on that question about the AI, right? The winner will not be AI alone. The winner will be, like, example, if I'm using AI, now I will use my expertise, my critical thinking, and my judgment to now use the data from AI and come up with my own version of that. So I think that's anybody can type into AI and get the information, right? So, but I think it's the critical thinking after that. And in terms of software, obviously there are many, and people can at least start, like there's Chat GPT, there's Claude, there is Grok, Perplexity, Gemini. So there are different tools. I think at least start somewhere. And because I think it's more like, right now we are at the early stages, but like how Microsoft or Excel or Word documents were when we were going 20 years back, it was part of a skill that people needed to learn. I think 5 years from now, AI literacy will be expected. People will be expected to know some basic AI literacy. And there are courses also. There is Anthropic has a course, there's Coursera, there's a course, Google has an AI course. So people can at least spend some time, and then it's all about trial and error. You do not need to be a chemical, like an engineer or an AI engineer. We don't expect that, but at least like the basic tools about coming up with the basic prompts on how to prompt AI, how to create images from AI, how to share data confidentially in AI and come up with the right information.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing that. So I'm going to touch real quickly on our next episode. So next month in July, we are going to be featuring the topic of reimagining and pivoting beauty careers, and how SCAD specialized programs are empowering industry professionals to elevate their expertise, featuring Michelle Ryan. Michelle Ryan is a seasoned marketing executive that spent the last year at SCAD as a professor. So they have a lot of working professors in the beauty industry. What really stood out about her and this specific topic, FITM, which is a fashion school that had a beauty program. FITM was sold last year, and they closed their beauty program, which I think is unfortunate for the LA market and for folks who wanted to specialize in beauty. But SCAD has programs from luxury, from fragrance. They've also have leadership courses. They have been a pioneer in AI. And I think for professionals that are struggling in today's market, or for professionals, as we just talked about, that need to continue to evolve in AI, gives you an opportunity to understand the offerings and how that can be a competitive advantage to continue to grow. So that'll be July 30th and for next month. So let's move into one question that I always like to ask each episode is, as a hiring manager, what are the attributes that you look for when hiring?
Yeah. Again, I have hired many professionals over the last 20 plus years. I can go into like some credentials and some insights, but I normally like candidates who have curiosity. I think curiosity is number one, and then followed by a close second of learning agility. You can teach technical skills, you can teach them how to formulate and all, but you cannot teach curiosity and learning agility. So if you can, that is number one, although it's very difficult to judge this in an interview, but I will come to that afterwards on how I've used how to figure that out. Also, I think beyond the technical skills, I also look at the mindset, like how much their adaptability, their collaborative skills, communication skills, critical thinking. And if you see, these are all soft skills, which are not necessarily in the resume. And but from the resume, like I would see, is more hands-on experience. So what hands-on experience they have specific to the role I'm hiring for, and obviously depending on the job level, right? So I have hired from people from high school, also as interns, as well as from entry-level college, as well as high as VP candidates. So I do see their background, whether they have relevancy in the job that I'm looking for, or at least ancillary jobs so like even if I'm hiring for PD, for beauty products, but if they have similar experience in the food or nutrition, it's okay as long as they show that trend. There's too much job skipping. The stability is important. And then the one thing I asked you, I mentioned before about the soft skills, right? I have a little bit of advantage over there because I'm in the industry long enough that I pretty much know some professionals in each company that I would technically hire from. So I usually just pick up the phone and do a background reference by calling my friend at a company. That 5 minute of conversation doing that background work is probably stronger than the full resume because it tells me their past work, how they have adapted in difficult situations, their curiosity, their learning agility. So the one advice here is, first, don't break any bonds with any of your past employees, or, it is very important. People feel that, oh, I'm leaving this job anyway, I don't care. But it is important. What you do in every job does come back to haunt you sometimes. And I'm not saying it in a negative way. It's just that I'm telling it in a positive way. Whichever job they take, they should give total dedication to it, because it is indeed a small industry. And then I do look, obviously, because it's a technical role that I do hire for, I do look at scientific literacy. So if they have capability to, especially in product development roles, it is a plus if they have some capability of have written papers during their college years, or have done similar type of projects, research. Communication skills are important. Communication skills do come out in the interview process, the clarity of communication, the body language. I think it's a lot, but I think once you have been doing it, you can sort of figure that out in pretty quick summary, the skills that the person has.
Now, you mentioned curiosity. You're not the first person to come on to this show and mention that. And I do think it's a very key attribute to have, but one that's sometimes very difficult to assess in the interview process. How do you conduct your interview to understand that curiosity factor within a candidate?
Yeah. So I usually I ask open-ended questions sometimes. So example, if I'm interviewing for Supergoop of any brand, I would ask open-ended questions. I will ask like, hey, what are the trends that you have been seeing in the food industry, nutrition industry? Have you ever noticed anything that inspires you from nature in beauty products? So I want to like from that answer, I can judge how they are looking at things around them.
Sure.
So because I strongly feel that if you want to create a disruptive idea, it will most likely not come within the beauty industry. It will come out from either the paint industry, pharmaceuticals, any biotech industry. So I want to see how they are looking at other things from a different lens, because that tells you their curiosity. Even sometimes the answer, like sometimes I interview people from college and they say, oh, while I was a basketball player, I did this. You can sort of correlate the mind, their thinking, which will give you some more insight into their personality.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing that.
I do have a quick comment that I wanted to bring up because somebody agrees with you. They said, I love that you are highlighting having learning agility and relentless curiosity as key soft skills for our industry. This is so key, specifically within an innovation role in an industry that is ever evolving. So I think a lot of people connect with what you just said. So fantastic. What I will say is we are coming towards the end of the show now. So if you do have any other questions, please pop them in the chat and I will make sure that I bring them up. Okay, sorry, Debbie, over to you.
Oh, wonderful. We are going into our top tip.
So I think one of the top tips that I have, that having worked in the industry long enough, is I have seen a lot of recycling of ideas. Antioxidants get repurposed as adaptogens. Peptides come back. Hyaluronic acid comes back. I have done bubbling foams probably 15 years ago, and they were the biggest trend 5 years ago. We had tinted moisturizers 15 years ago, and they have come back. I'm sorry. we had tinted moisturizers 15 years ago, and they have come back as BB creams. And so what I'm saying is that most of the ideas come back. So what I'm saying is that for a successful innovation to happen is when science and consumer understanding come together, and no idea is a bad idea. And innovation happens when you look at familiar ideas through a different lens. You are going into nature, you see a polar bear. Why doesn't that get sunburn? You are looking at butterflies. How does the iridescence happen on them? So look at that, inspire, and also remember that no idea is bad idea, and what is old always comes back as new again.
Wonderful.
Fantastic. Okay, so we have come towards the end of the show. So Debbie, if you would like to take us out.
Absolutely. Well, Akshay, thank you so much for being here today and sharing your expertise on this topic. It was very valuable. My key takeaways from this conversation really is innovation in product development and R&D. The fundamentals continue to exist, but the way that the outside influences from global, from social, from influencers, from consumers are changing the landscape, making the claims and clinicals more paramount and more important from stage one. And just in the inspiration alone, I mean, thank you for sharing more about the curiosity and evolving your career. I think that every skill set has to evolve, but innovation is specifically one of them, and just the AI highlights as well. So for those of you who have tuned in, thank you so much for joining Beauty Talent Talk, and we look forward to seeing you next month. Have a great day.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.